Good morning. I would like to thank you for your time and for being with me today. My name is Enzo Ferrari, and I am a researcher from the University of Salamanca. Our research group, which includes Camilo Ruiz and Anne Marie Balaguer, is part of the Department of Mathematics and Science Education. Today, I am going to discuss a fascinating and important study titled Emotional Responses to Climate Change, a survey of Honduran youth. This research delves into the intricate emotional landscapes of young people in Honduras as they navigate the pressing issue of climate change. Emotions related to climate change are a fast growing topic of research. They are crucial to examine because they reflect the level of concern that people are experiencing and how personally important they find the issue of climate change. This emotional engagement can predict support for policies designed to mitigate climate change and encourage behavioral adaptation measures. Our study focuses on how gender and age influence these emotional responses. Research indicates that gender is associated with vulnerability to the effects of climate change. Women are considered to be at higher risk, partly due to gender roles and unequal access to power, information, and financial resources. This increased vulnerability extends to climate anxiety and negative emotions. On the other hand, men tend to score higher on climate denial and positive emotions like optimism. Age is another crucial factor in understanding vulnerability. Young people are particularly concerned about climate change as their lives extend further into the future, exposing them to more of the associated threats. They face high levels of vulnerability and a constant stream of media coverage about these threats. Younger generations also have less power to affect change through voting or financial means, making them especially sensitive to feelings of betrayal by those in power. Our research questions are: what are the differences in each emotion associated with gender and age? To answer these questions, we applied a cross sectional quantitative study design using the Mann Whitney test. We conducted a study involving 1,161 children from Honduras. In terms of gender, half of the participants were boys. The participants ranged in age from 12 to 18 years old, with 15-year-olds being the most common. The dependent variables were 11 climate action related emotions: worry, fear, confusion, sadness, anger, indifference, guilt, unbelief, powerlessness, shame, anxiety, helplessness, interest, optimism, excitement, and hope. These emotions were classified as negative, hostile, or positive. The independent variables or factors were the gender and age of the children. Our findings revealed significant gender differences in emotional responses to climate change. Girls reported higher levels of worry, negative thoughts about the future, fear, sadness, anger, and guilt compared to boys. These differences were significant for almost all emotions except for feelings of powerlessness, shame, helplessness, skepticism, and confusion. Specifically, girls were more likely to report experiencing fear, sadness, anger, guilt, and anxiety. Although girls also reported feelings of shame, powerlessness, and helplessness, these differences were not statistically significant. Boys, on the other hand, were more likely to report feeling indifferent. In terms of positive emotions, boys generally scored higher than girls, but the difference was only statistically significant for optimism. Interestingly, girls reported higher levels of interest. When analyzing age related differences, we found notable trends in both negative and positive emotional responses to climate change. Across all age groups, the most prominent negative emotions were worry, fear, powerlessness, and sadness. These emotions were consistently reported at high levels by participants, indicating a widespread concern about the impacts of climate change among Honduran youth. Conversely, the least prevalent negative emotions were helplessness, shame, indifference, and unbelief. While these emotions were less common, their presence still highlights areas where certain groups may feel disconnected or skeptical about climate change. Age differences also revealed small but significant variations in specific emotions. Younger participants, were more likely to experience fear related to climate change. This heightened sense of fear among the youngest participants may be attributed to their limited capacity to influence change and their greater exposure to alarming information without the
On the
coping
other hand,
mechanisms developed
older
in
adolescents,
adolescence.
particularly 18-year-olds, exhibited higher levels of indifference. This trend suggests a possible desensitization or resignation to the climate crisis as they approach adulthood. Similar age related patterns were observed for unbelief and helplessness, with older participants more likely to express skepticism and feelings of powerlessness regarding climate change. In terms of positive emotions, interest and hope stood out as the highest across all age groups. Interest in climate change remained consistently high, suggesting a general curiosity and engagement with the topic. Hope showed an increasing trend, particularly peaking at age 18, which may reflect a growing sense of optimism and agency as these individuals transition into adulthood. Optimism also demonstrated an age related pattern, with levels rising from age 14 and stabilizing from age 16 onwards. This trend indicates that as adolescents grow older, their optimism about addressing climate change becomes more established. Interestingly, excitement followed a similar trajectory but experienced a notable decrease at age 18. This decline in excitement may be due to the realization of the challenges ahead as they prepare to leave adolescence. Overall, there were no significant differences in the levels of positive emotions among different age groups, indicating that children of all ages experience similar levels of positive emotions related to climate change. The highest emotions reported were worry and interest, consistently observed across all age groups. This indicates a strong engagement with the issue of climate change, coupled with a high level of concern. On the other hand, the lowest emotions reported were unbelief and excitement, with unbelief showing a slight increase with age. This growing trend of unbelief among older adolescents may reflect increasing skepticism as they encounter more complex information about climate change. In summary, this study explored demographic differences in emotional responses to climate change. The results confirm that gender is a relevant factor, with girls reporting more worry, negative emotions, and negative beliefs about the impacts of climate change. Boys, on the other hand, scored higher on climate denial and positive emotions like optimism. Age also played a role, with younger adolescents being more fearful and older adolescents showing higher levels of indifference, unbelief, anxiety, and helplessness. This suggests that younger adolescents may be less engaged in thinking about climate change compared to those who have reached adulthood, possibly explaining the higher levels of fear among the youngest participants and higher levels of indifference and other negative emotions among the oldest. Although the study presents exciting results, it has limitations. The participant selection was not random, and the sample size was moderate. The study was also confined to Honduras. Conducting similar studies in other countries and developing more sophisticated tools to measure emotions related to climate change are recommended. Longitudinal studies could monitor changes in emotional responses over time. Several implications can be made to address the emotional responses of youth to climate change effectively. Targeted climate education programs, develop age specific curriculum focusing on interactive methods for younger children, and detailed information for older adolescents. Incorporate gender sensitive approaches to address the emotional needs of female students and increase engagement among male students. Enhance mental health support, conduct emotional support workshops, and provide stress management techniques. Ensure access to trained school counselors for students dealing with climate related emotions. Promote gender inclusive climate action. Empower female youth through platforms for expressing concerns and participating in climate action. Engage male youth with hands on environmental projects and science related activities. Age specific engagement strategies. For younger respondents, channel fear into constructive activities like tree planting and recycling drives. For older respondents, address indifference with debates, research projects, and community initiatives. Community and family involvement.
Organize parental workshops to educate on supporting children's emotional responses to climate change. Facilitate intergenerational dialogues to promote mutual understanding and shared action plans. Policy recommendations. Advocate for youth feedback inclusion in climate action plans. Push for policies providing resources for comprehensive climate education and mental health programs in schools. For more information, please contact us. Many thanks.